Hi, I'm Fiona and I'm a resilience coach and inspirational speaker. Today, I will be sharing with you some insights on how you can uncover your unique gifts, how you can slide down the pole without clothes on, and how you can be more resilient and be inspired to follow your dreams.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we have a remarkable guest joining us. Fiona, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Well, the pleasure is all mine. We've been chasing each other, since the last time, and obviously you're a busy lady, so I'm happy we've finally managed to get you to sit down with us on the show. And for those that are watching right now today, we're going to be unwrapping the secrets to success, and we want to sprinkle a dash of inspiration into your day. All right. Today we've got a guest who's not only breaking boundaries, but also she's pole dancing around them with absolute finesse. Hold on to your seats because this promises to be one of the most enlightening episodes we've had in a while. Now, Fiona, let's dive right in. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do, especially your superpower?
Okay, so my superpower is that in essence, I'm a little bit like the X-Men. I'm a bit of a mutant in that I actually don't have my full vision. So I was actually born legally blind, and I have learnt all of these other superpowers, communication, resilience, adaptability, because one of my senses, I guess, is not working as well as it could be. So yeah, that's me and how I've sort of, I guess, developed a bit of a different perspective and a positive attitude.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for opening up with that because at the end of the day, so many people have all senses and everything else that they possibly can utilize in their day-to-day life. Yet they find ways to complain. How has life been like for you?
Look, it hasn't always been easy, and there's, trust me, plenty of times where I complain, and sometimes people listen and sometimes they don't. But essentially, I learnt that sometimes taking control and being that person that helps yourself is the best way to navigate through tricky situations. And so, even the simplest day-to-day activities sometimes can be a challenge, but it's also then about working out how we can get through those challenges and how we can think outside of the square and just maybe do things slightly different and adapt to then make the situation work for you rather than against you.
Absolutely. I can only imagine. And my next question for you is how do you keep up such lively spirits? We were just laughing behind the scenes there and I just really had an awesome time. Thank you so much for doing that with me.
Again, I think it's about taking that opportunity to make the best of what we're given. Like, we're all served up different things in life, and some of those things aren't so great, and other things are fabulous. But if we focus on all the things that aren't great, it makes us miserable. And, then if we're feeling miserable, then we end up creating more misery, I guess. And so it's that whole idea of, manifesting that positivity in your life. And the more that you can look at things with that, that bright attitude and that, okay, well, we can do these things and let's have fun doing it. Then, when those tough times come along, I think you're a little bit tougher and stronger and able to deal with those as well.
Oh, I can only concur with that. Now, I love that you're the world's only adventure-seeking social worker and also pole dancing blind woman and a prospector of unique gifts. How do you actually manage to blend all of these incredible facets of yourself into the work that you do daily?
I think it's again about having a balance. And so it's that taking that adventurous streak and taking the opportunities that are presented to me. And sometimes that's saying yes and working it out later. The social work was something that I always felt inclined to do because I I kind of had a situation where I hit rock bottom when I was a teenager and was depressed and had a lot of stuff going on. And through some circumstances, I kind of realized that my own experiences potentially could be beneficial in that it gave me a bit of insight and empathy into other people that may be experiencing difficulties in life as well, hence why the social work stuff came along. We've also touched on, the fact that I'm a bit of a mutant and am a blind woman. And then the pole dancing came from, look, I was always wanting to dance. Dancing then was, okay, well, how do I make sure that I've got a partner and find somebody else that wants to do it? My husband's really not into dancing so much, so that wasn't sort of, something on his radar. And then obviously being blind, the difficulty of dancing with a partner, then you've got to kind of work out where you are, work out where they are, work out all the moves. It becomes really tricky. And so I figured, well, pole dancing, at least then I've only got myself to worry about because a pole's always going to be in one spot. So I started it and then realized it is such a challenge. And that's what made me love it, because it's about always pushing your boundaries and testing your levels of fitness. And I think there's a lot of self-confidence that comes out of it. And I'm a pretty sort of confident person now. However, even just, going through that whole process of, okay, well, there's a reason why pole dancers don't wear very many clothes, because it helps you stick on the pole easier. So if you've got more skin sort of happening, then you stick to the pole. So you can't rock up at pole dance class with tracksuit pants and a hoodie on because it's just not going to happen. So, even just little bits and pieces like that. And again, that whole helping other people find their unique gifts. It's what I do through my inspirational speaking and coaching. And, that's part of me using my own situation to give back to other people.
Well, I can only see that, because at the end of the day, if you have, like you say, clothes on, you're only cleaning the pole, which makes it much more slippery.
Pretty much.
Oh, absolutely. Now, you did take us to a time when you were in your teens, and you said you went through a bout of sort of depression. How did you manage to get yourself out of that? And yeah.
Yeah, look, I think being a teenager is tricky at any time. Like, we're all trying to work out our place in the world and your identity and deal with all of that, peer group pressure and all of those things that happen as a teenager. And I grew up in an isolated country town out in far western New South Wales. And so the whole, I guess, bullying and school system sort of stuff was exacerbated a bit by us not having great resources. And so there was no special schooling for anyone that had a disability. It was like, just lump it in with the rest of the kids and work it out as you go.
Mm.
And as much as I wanted to be like the other kids, of course, there were times where I couldn't. So, I grew up in the times where you were expected to read a blackboard or an overhead projector, which is not something I could do. They didn't have any sort of special things that were set up for sports curriculum, for example. So I was just expected to play cricket and basketball like everybody else. And, those things don't always work out the way you would like them to, and certainly then spotlight you as being the kid that's different. So there was a lot of sort of, angst around that. My dad passed away when I was 15 as well, unexpectedly. So that sort of added to some more angst. And life was just a little bit of a mess for a little while. And funnily enough, it was a presentation that I was asked to do for our legal studies class. And the teacher gave us an opportunity to choose any topic that was related to something, in a legal sense. And I sort of thought to myself, if I'm feeling as miserable and in a such nasty situation as I was feeling, and yes, of course, the self-harm kind of stuff had crossed my mind, I thought potentially there's other people that are potentially in the same situation. And maybe this is something that I can, highlight as, a bit of a toolkit to how we can all help ourselves and each other through these difficult times. And so that's what I did my presentation on. And in doing that, that was when I realized that personal experience gave me the capacity to help other people.
Absolutely, because your lived experience is what would then inform the speeches that you've been giving, everywhere, which you are now renowned for. Let's talk about your speaking engagement. How do you actually craft your presentations to resonate with your audience on a deeper level?
It's about finding out what people want as an outcome and what's happening in that particular situation at the time. So whether it be a corporate situation or whether it be a business group or whatever the thing is that's creating the difficulty, then I use those particular things to then build upon my own stories, but then give people takeaways. So, and unlike being a standard, I guess, inspirational speaker that has a disability, where quite often you might find someone that maybe is a Paralympian or something like that, and you listen to someone's story and you think, that's really amazing. Aren't they such a strong, powerful, motivating person? And you walk out of that event and you're motivated. And then 2 days later, you're back to your old self and your old ways, and you haven't really taken any personal change on that journey.
Mm.
Where the way that I do it, because I entwine it in with some of my skills from NLP and coaching, and back to that whole social work thing as well, it then becomes not only me telling some of my own stories, but being able to relate to everybody in the audience and actually give them tools and takeaways that then hopefully the outcomes are then that they go and do something different in their life and think about things differently and make even just a tiny little change that will impact upon them forever.
Absolutely, because when you come across somebody who's as inspiring and motivating as yourself, I mean, you will definitely get off your pity party and go in and start doing work. I mean, it only just takes an insight of knowing that you don't need that many clothes on a pole. That alone in and of itself is, because so many people are layering and layering more and more stuff on top of them, only to realize that what they want in life is just letting them slide down because they're using the wrong setup for it. So I can only concur. Now, with the kind of speeches that you normally give, if somebody in the audience would like to maybe invite you on stage, what sort of stages do you like to speak on?
Look, I go from everything to like, small community groups or small groups where there's an opportunity for lots of interaction. And so I really work with the people and they get a chance to participate, right through to more sort of, large groups where it's actually more of a presentation. And even though there's activities, so everybody always has to do some kind of practical something at all of my presentations. It's not just sitting there and having a little bit of a nap up in the back row, but some of it will be actual interaction where you're going to share those things and do little group activities, versus a bigger group then becomes, okay, well, this is a conversation that you might have with the person sitting next to you, or something that you need to do and write down or have a personal thought about for a moment, but maybe not sort of more, less of that workshop kind of format, I guess.
Oh, right, right. And what sort of outcomes do people usually come back, feeding you back and say, hey, because of you, we now able to do X, Y, and Z?
Mm. People feel, I mean, they walk out of there with that immediate inspiration. One of the really fun things that I get people to do in some of my presentations is do what we call blind Olympics. And if you want to know about blind Olympics, then you're going to have to give me a call and find out some more information about what that actually like contains. But it gives people, I guess, a little bit of an insight into what my life might be like. And so they come away, they're inspired, but they're also then taking away those coaching tips. And so they do have an opportunity to look at their own unique gifts, the negative things that they're telling themselves, the times where they've actually shown their own strength and resilience in life, and to reflect back on all of those things and actually sort of make those changes. And when people come back to me and say, yeah, I went away and I've been doing the things that are now having more meaning in my life rather than just the day to day, get up, get everyone to work and school, feed the dog, come home, do the same thing again the next day. They're actually utilizing their life in a really meaningful way for them, and making that change. And that's fabulous for me. It's why I do this work, is actually seeing that change in people.
Nice one, because most of the stuff that you bring to the table is usually maybe what people take for granted and wouldn't have seen anywhere else. So you really bring a unique, sort of feel to how people interact with either themselves or those that are around them. And you said the word empathy, I think about 3 times. I've been counting, Fiona. What does that mean to you?
It's having the opportunity to walk in the shoes of others. And we can never understand somebody else's situation. Every person is individual. How they deal with circumstances individual. How they might be dealing with it today versus tomorrow is totally individual. But if you've got a concept of understanding just outside of your own space and looking at it from a different perspective and going, how do you think this might be affecting somebody else? And actually, taking the time to ask some questions and find out what it's like for somebody else. And then give them the support that they need to work through those situations if you've got the capacity to do so.
I can see, because so many people are quick to pass on judgment or a remark based on how they feel, not necessarily what the other person might be going through and things of that nature. And I always believe you can't judge or say anything until you've walked a mile in somebody else's shoes. But unless they're wearing those American single toe shoes, those ones, then yeah, they can walk by themselves. I can judge them based on that. Now, what's some of the uncommon processes or strategies that you've actually used to grow your business that you think other entrepreneurs can actually benefit from?
Um, I think it's about really working out what your skills and strengths are and really focusing on those, and outsourcing stuff that maybe you aren't so great at. Or in my case, there's some things that I really struggle with, like social media, for example. Like, I'm all over the social media. However, there's definitely some times where I've got to have somebody else and go, oh, okay, yep, these are the photos that you've taken. Let's label them with a proper name rather than just some random file name that comes out of your iPhone. And doing all of those extra little swoosh whoosh things that happen on social media, like with all the little captions and tags and all of that stuff, is not really accessible. So for me, I needed to work out, okay, there's a certain element of this that I can do myself. And so if you see the really raw stuff pop up on social media, that's probably me doing my own thing. But then all the stuff with the special effects and the all the doodahs and bells and whistles, that's all done by somebody else, because essentially I can't produce that outcome. And so instead of spending a really long time doing it, I say, okay, that's a delegating job. And so working out what it is that you want to spend your time and effort on, and what's going to give you the most reward, and it's going to keep you motivated to keep going. Like, being a business owner is hard work sometimes, and it's frustrating, and it doesn't always give you the results that you want straight away. And that's one of the things that I've had to learn, is patience. And I'm not very good at being a patient person. As you can tell, I live a really busy life and like to have everything going at 100 miles an hour. So when I have to be patient, it doesn't really sit with me so well, but it is something that I've had to learn as a business owner.
Absolutely. Now, you've mentioned obviously social media, and that's the go-to for a lot of people when it comes to growing their business, which I actually think is, limiting them in certain ways because people are just hiding behind the screen. And if you're not really connecting and creating for and relating to your audience, you're missing out. Social media now just becomes an amplifier of something that's already working, not the be it
Mm.
and end all of everything else. And now we've had the advent of new technology in the form of AI or chat GPT and things of that nature. Have you ventured into that realm already?
I have touched upon it a little bit. Um, Again, it's really interesting. Like the accessibility of things is sometimes a potential barrier. So ChatGPT is actually quite good in the sense that it is actually very accessible. I use a screen reader to do all of my computer work. So essentially that means that I have an extra little talking voice. So imagine using your computer with no monitor, no mouse, just a keyboard shortcut for everything that you do, and then having a little voice going blah, 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 in the background telling you everything that's pretty much showing up on the screen. So some things are coded really well to work with that. Sort of major products such as the, your Microsoft Suite and all of that sort of stuff works really well with it. There's other things that don't work so well because they're not coded well. And so I haven't really ventured into a lot of AI, but the ones that I have, seem to be quite interesting.
Fantastic. And have you sort of found your footing in it, or is it something that's a learning curve, like you were mentioning with regards to social media?
Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve. Like, I mean, I think it's new technology. We're all going to become, really great experts at it in another few years when it's been around forever and we know all the right prompts to type in to get the output that we want. I think it's still definitely got a limit to it. But there's definitely things that I am finding really useful, and I'm sure that that's just going to continue to develop as the technology develops.
Fantastic. Now, if somebody's watching this and they're excited about wanting to learn more about your work and everything else that you're doing, what would be the best way that people can get a hold of you there, Fiona?
As I mentioned, I am all over the socials, so that's a good contact point. Or the other place would be my website, which is fionademark.com.au. And if you forget how to spell my name and everyone gets it confused with Denmark, like the country, just drop the N and you'll find me.
Absolutely. Now that you've mentioned it, I can't say that's all I can see now. And I really appreciate the time that we've spent together today. But I mean, obviously for somebody who, you lost your dad and you've been trying to navigate the world in ways that not a lot of us can start to sort of think how that is, or sort of is like. You've been through so much, yet you radiate so much positivity. How do you stay motivated in during challenging times?
I think the essence is to just think every day is a new day, a new opportunity. It's kind of like wiping the slate clear. And it comes in that same concept as many people think about, New Year's. You go out, you celebrate, it's a whole new year, we're starting again. I actually don't celebrate New Year's because I see every day like that. So when I go to bed, it's like, okay, today I was grateful that I did all of these things. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and these are the things that I'm going to, see if I can get through my tasks list. And, if it works out, great, it does. If it doesn't, then we keep on working on it and we take it to the next day. But, you never know what's around the corner. And so if you are struggling and feeling miserable, then, if you persist in those thoughts and those actions and feelings, then you're not giving the opportunity to let those good positive things in either.
Fantastic. Now, I must say your resilience is truly, truly remarkable. Now, if you could maybe go back in time and talk to that Fiona who was a teen at that time, who was thinking all those weird thoughts, hadn't discovered the pole, and now, you know, also speaking on different stages, what sort of advice would you give to your younger self? Just if they would come across who you are right now, knowing what you know.
To stop being so concerned about what everyone thinks and just do your thing. If you know what you're doing is the right path for you, you're not harming anybody in that process, then just go for it. Don't worry about the naysayers and the people that tell you that you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. Just get out there, follow your dreams, set goals, achieve them, and you'll end up where you want to be in the future.
That in and of itself is a masterclass in how to live a well-lived life. So thank you so much. Now, speaking of transformation, when I was researching you to come on the show, I noticed that you're writing a book. Can you maybe give us a glimpse into what it's about and what inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, it's a bit of a memoir of those traumatizing teenage years. So there was a lot of stuff that happened across my high school sort of, time frame. And within that, I have shared sort of some of the insights, the ups, the downs, those things that were influential, I guess, in making me who I am now. We all kind of, create a lot of our values and beliefs and things in those years. And it was really important for me to reflect back on that and go, how much of what I experienced is still actually sort of, part of who I am today. And so there was definitely lots of learning in writing it. I'm in the editing process at the moment and already have, I guess, earmarked a concept for the follow-up, which will then be more of a self-help guide, I guess, in essence, to overcome those things. So in the process of me working out what all of those things were that have influenced me, it's also given me I guess, the clarity to be able to go, oh, okay, well, this is maybe how somebody else might get through those situations, and to be able to provide some tools for that as well. So that will be book number 2, but at the moment we're still working on book number 1.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. So we should be expecting you back on the show to launch this book again. When you go on your book tour, would you earmark the Online Prosperity Show as one of the places where you would also pass by and we can help you celebrate your graduation into authorship?
Of course I will, yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the time that you spent with me on the call today. It's been remarkable.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great fun.
Absolutely. And there you have it, folks. A whirlwind of inspiration and wisdom, courtesy of Fiona Denmark, without the N, Demark. All right. But wait, there's more. If you've been moved by Fiona's journey and insights, I mean, how could you not be? Be sure to catch this episode again for a double dose of motivation and inspiration. And as she has promised, she will be flying by when she launches her book, and another one that's going to come pretty much after that. When she catches the author's bug, yeah, we are going to be hearing from her more often. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so we can stay updated on all our upcoming episodes where we continue to uncover the secrets of online prosperity. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep chasing those dreams. Help me thank Fiona once again. Bye for now.